You need to hear this if you're questioning your identity. We live in a world obsessed with identity. Every day we are encouraged to define and redefine who we are. Social media feeds this obsession, making it easier than ever to craft our online personas. We are bombarded with messages about self-care and self-improvement, urging us to constantly work on ourselves. But what does it mean to have an identity? Is it something we can truly define, or is it ever-changing? The French historian and psychoanalyst Élisabeth Roudinesco explores this question in her book, The Sovereign Self: Pitfalls of Identity Politics. Roudinesco argues that our modern conception of identity is a recent phenomenon, deeply rooted in historical contexts. It is rooted in the Enlightenment and the rise of individualism, which emphasized personal freedom and self-expression. This emphasis on the individual has profoundly shaped our societies and cultures. It has led to the recognition of individual rights and freedoms, but also to a sense of isolation and narcissism. Roudinesco's work provides a valuable lens to understand our current predicament, offering insights into our collective psyche. She urges us to critically examine our obsession with identity, including themes like wokeism, transgenderism, and racial identity. She calls for a return to shared human values, emphasizing the importance of community and collective well-being. The idea of the individual did not always exist. In fact, for much of human history, the concept of individuality was almost entirely absent. In medieval Europe, people's identities were largely determined by their social position. This rigid structure dictated every aspect of life, from occupation to social interactions. One's place in society was defined by birth, leaving little room for personal choice or mobility. You were a peasant, a merchant, or a nobleman, and your role was largely fixed. The Enlightenment challenged this rigid social order, bringing forth new ideas that questioned traditional hierarchies. Thinkers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau emphasized the importance of reason and individual autonomy. They argued that society should be based on the rights and freedoms of individuals. They argued that all individuals possess inherent rights, which should be respected and protected by society. These rights include the right to life, liberty, and property, forming the foundation of modern democratic principles. This emphasis on individual rights had a profound impact on Western thought, reshaping societal structures and governance. It led to the American and French revolutions, which sought to establish societies based on these new ideals. It also paved the way for the rise of democracy and capitalism, systems that prioritize individual rights and freedoms. The individual became the central unit of society, fundamentally altering social dynamics and personal identity. This shift had a profound impact on how people understood themselves and their place in the world, leading to the diverse and complex societies we see today. The rise of individualism also led to the emergence of intersectional identity politics. Intersectional identity politics emphasizes the interconnected nature of social categorizations such as race, class, and gender. These groups include women, people of color, LGBTQ+ individuals, and those with métis identities. Intersectionality emerged as a response to the complex layers of oppression and marginalization. These groups sought recognition and equality, acknowledging their multifaceted identities. They challenged dominant narratives and power structures, highlighting post-colonial perspectives. Intersectional identity politics has been instrumental in advancing social justice. It has helped to raise awareness about systemic inequality and the legacy of colonialism. It has also empowered marginalized groups to fight for their rights, embracing their complex identities. However, intersectional identity politics has also been criticized for its potential to divide society. Critics argue that it can lead to a focus on differences rather than shared humanity, overshadowing the post-colonial struggle for unity. Intersectionality offers valuable insights into our fixation on identity. Kimberly Crenshaw, a scholar of critical race theory, introduced the concept of intersectionality to highlight how various social identities overlap. Our race, gender, and class experiences play a crucial role in shaping our identities. Frantz Fanon, a post-colonial theorist, further explored the psychological impacts of colonization on identity. Fanon argued that colonialism deeply affects the identities of both the colonized and the colonizer. We construct our sense of self through our interactions with others, influenced by these overlapping identities. This process of identity formation is never complete. We constantly negotiate our sense of self in relation to the world around us. This can be a source of both anxiety and creativity. Intersectionality helps us to understand the complexities of identity. It reminds us that our identities are not fixed or static, they are fluid and constantly evolving. The rise of identity politics has ignited a profound debate about the interplay between universal values and particular identities. This debate is increasingly significant in our diverse and interconnected world. Advocates of universal values such as human rights argue that these principles should take precedence over specific group identities. They believe that universal values offer a common foundation for all individuals, regardless of their background. Conversely, proponents of identity politics contend that universal values can sometimes be used to suppress the voices of marginalized groups. They argue that these values may obscure the unique struggles faced by different communities. They assert that true equality necessitates recognizing and valuing differences. This involves acknowledging the specific needs and experiences of various communities. Roudinesco believes this debate presents a false dichotomy. She suggests that universal values and particular identities can coexist and complement each other. She argues that universal values and particular identities are not mutually exclusive. Instead, they can enrich one another, fostering a more inclusive society. By acknowledging the uniqueness of individual and group experiences, we can foster a deeper understanding and respect for one another. This approach allows us to strive for a more just and equitable society for all, addressing both universal and particular concerns. Roudinesco warns against the dangers of both extreme individualism and rigid identity politics. She believes that both extremes can lead to division and conflict. She calls for a more nuanced understanding of identity politics. This nuanced approach can help bridge divides and promote a more inclusive society, where both universal values and particular identities are respected and valued. Roudinesco highlights the controversies and dangers surrounding identity politics. She warns that an excessive focus on identity can lead to a fragmentation of society. Defining ourselves primarily by our group affiliations can create deep divisions. These divisions make it challenging to find common ground and work together. Roudinesco argues that identity politics can be used to silence dissent and stifle debate. She cautions against fostering a climate of intolerance. In such an environment, people fear expressing views that deviate from their group's orthodoxy. Roudinesco stresses the need for open dialogue and critical thinking. She encourages us to engage with diverse perspectives and challenge our own assumptions. The rise of social media has intensified the fragmentation of our world. These platforms often create echo chambers. In these echo chambers, individuals are mainly exposed to information that reinforces their existing views. This can lead to a deepening of biases and a polarization of society. Social media can also fuel a culture of outrage and intolerance. To counter this fragmentation, Roudinesco emphasizes the need for dialogue and understanding. She advocates for education and dialogue as key tools for fostering a more cohesive society. We must teach young people about the complexities of identity and the value of critical thinking. Creating spaces for open and respectful dialogue across differences is essential. Roudinesco's work invites us to move beyond a narrow and rigid understanding of identity. She encourages us to embrace the complexities and fluidity of the self. However, her ideas also spark ongoing debates and controversies. Critics argue about the balance between individual and collective identities. The tension between personal freedom and social cohesion remains unresolved. Roudinesco's call for inclusivity faces challenges in a polarized world. The ongoing struggle to reconcile diversity with unity continues. Dialogue and understanding are often overshadowed by division and intolerance. The journey beyond identity is fraught with challenges, reflecting the complexity of human experience. Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and stay tuned for more insightful content.